A truck driver gives the keys to his house to a homeless woman and her daughter, but what he sees through the window upon returning leaves him in shock. The rain lashed mercilessly against the windshield of Ben's aging truck, creating a rhythmic thrum that almost drowned out the weary growl of the engine. It was yet another lonely night on the road, like so many over the past 5 years. Ben adjusted the rearview mirror, his tired eyes staring back from the fogged-up glass. At 52, his lined face told stories he rarely dared to recount. A gas station appeared ahead, a beacon in the dark expanse of the highway. Ben guided his truck into the muddy lot, intent on stretching his legs and perhaps finding a cup of hot coffee to shake off the cold that had seeped into his bones. As he stepped down from the cab, a flicker of movement at the side of the truck caught his attention. "Who's there?" he called out, his gravelly voice cutting through the damp air. Silence was his initial response, broken only by the persistent drumming of rain on the truck's tarp. Ben hesitated, his hand instinctively reaching for the small flashlight in the pocket of his worn-out jacket. That's when he saw her. A young woman, no older than 30, stepped out from the shadows. Her wide, fearful eyes glistened with a mix of alarm and defiance. In her arms, held tightly as though her very life depended on it, was a sleeping little girl. "Please," the woman whispered, her voice trembling against the steady rainfall, "don't call the police." Something stirred in Ben's chest, an emotion he hadn't felt in years. Compassion, recognition. There was something about the scene that tugged at the edges of his memory. "I'm not calling anyone," he said, his voice softening. "Are you all right? Do you need help?" The woman relaxed just slightly, though her eyes remained vigilant, darting around the parking lot as though expecting danger to appear at any moment. "I'm Sarah," she finally said, "and this is Lily." Her arms cradled the sleeping child protectively. That's when Ben noticed it. Hanging around Sarah's neck, almost hidden by the soaked collar of her shirt, was a locket he knew all too well. His heart quickened. That symbol, that particular design, it couldn't be a coincidence. It was identical to the one his late wife, as Catherine, had worn, the very one that had mysteriously gone missing after her funeral 5 years ago. Ben swallowed hard, fighting to maintain his composure. A flood of questions raced through his mind, but he pushed them aside. Now was not the time. "You both look like you need somewhere dry," he said, his voice steadying. "I've got a house not too far from here. It's been empty for a while, but..." He paused, surprised at his own words. What was he doing? Offering his home to strangers. But when he looked again at Sarah and little Lily, something deep inside him shifted. Perhaps it was the memory of Catherine, or perhaps it was simply the urge to do something kind in a world that felt increasingly harsh. Sarah studied him, suspicion and hope warring in her eyes. "Why?" she asked. "Why would you help us?" Ben sighed, his gaze drifting toward the dark highway beyond the gas station. "Sometimes," he murmured, more to himself than to her, "you need to believe there's still some good left in the world." As he helped Sarah and Lily into the cab of his truck, Ben couldn't ignore the slight tremor in his hands. It wasn't just the cold night air. It was the weight of the decision he'd just made, and the unsettling sense that his life was about to change in ways he couldn't yet imagine. As he started the engine, his eyes caught one last glimmer of Sarah's locket. A chill ran down his spine. That small piece of metal held more than just memories. It held secrets. And Ben had a sinking feeling that by opening the doors of his home to these strangers, he was also opening the doors to a past he thought he had left behind. The truck pulled out of the station, disappearing into the stormy night. As Ben drove, he had no way of knowing the twists and turns that awaited him, or how this simple act of kindness would set off a chain of events that would change not only his life, but the lives of everyone around him. The road ahead was dark and uncertain, much like the future awaiting them. Inside the truck cab, the silence was almost tangible, broken only by the monotonous swish of the windshield wipers and Lily's occasional murmurs in her sleep. Ben stole glances at his passengers, his mind a whirl of questions and doubts. Sarah remained tense, her gaze fixed on the road ahead as if bracing for something or someone to emerge from the shadows. The locket around her neck occasionally caught the glow of passing headlights, a constant reminder of the mystery surrounding her. "We're almost there," Ben muttered, more to break the silence than anything else. Sarah simply nodded, her fingers absent-mindedly stroking Lily's hair. When they finally arrived at Ben's modest house on the outskirts of town, the rain had eased into a fine drizzle. The small, weathered home, painted a faded shade of blue, appeared almost ghostly under the pale moonlight that peeked through the clouds. Ben turned off the engine and hesitated for a moment, his hand resting on the key. "Look," he began, turning to Sarah. "I know this is strange. I don't fully understand why I'm doing this, but..." He paused, searching for the right words. "You can stay here for a while. I've got a long trip ahead, and the house would be empty anyway." Sarah stared at him, her eyes a mixture of gratitude and skepticism. "Why are you doing this? You don't even know us." Ben exhaled deeply, his gaze drifting to the dark road beyond. "Maybe it's because I've been the one needing help before, and no one came," he said quietly. "Or maybe..." His eyes flicked to the locket around Sarah's neck. Sarah noticed the direction of his gaze and instinctively brought her hand to her chest, covering the locket. "What is it?" she asked, a defensive edge to her voice. Ben shook his head, deciding this wasn't the time. "Nothing. Let's get inside. It's getting cold out here." They stepped out of the truck, Sarah carefully carrying Lily, who was still fast asleep. Ben unlocked the front door, flipping on the lights to reveal a simple yet cozy interior. A thin layer of dust coated the furniture, a silent testament to the time the house had stood empty. "It's not much, but it's safe," Ben said, leading them inside. "The guest room's down the hall. There's food in the fridge, and..." He stopped, noticing how Sarah scanned every corner of the room as if searching for hidden threats. "So no one's going to bother you here," he assured her. Sarah nodded slowly, still wary. "How long can we stay?" "I've got a 2-week trip ahead. You can stay until I get back, and then, well, we'll figure it out from there." Ben showed them the rest of the house, pointing out where to find clean towels and other essentials. As he spoke, his mind raced. He knew he should be preparing for his journey, but something compelled him to learn more about his mysterious guests. After settling Sarah and Lily into the guest room, Ben returned to the living room, restless. His gaze was drawn to a framed photograph on the shelf, him and Catherine, smiling, with her wearing the very locket now hanging around Sarah's neck. With a heavy sigh, he picked up his phone and dialed a number he hadn't used in years. "Hello, Jack, it's Ben. I need a favor." He cast a cautious glance toward the hallway, lowering his voice. "I need you to look into someone for me. It's important." Hanging up the phone, Ben felt the weight of his decision pressing down on him. He knew he was stepping into something potentially dangerous, but curiosity and an inexplicable sense of responsibility drove him forward. Returning to the guest room, he found Sarah sitting on the edge of the bed, gently stroking Lily's hair. She looked up at him with a mixture of gratitude and unease. "Ben," she began hesitantly, "there's something you should know." At that moment, Ben's phone buzzed with a message. It was from Jack. "I found something. You won't believe what I discovered about her." Ben looked back at Sarah, his heartbeat quickening. Whatever she was about to reveal and whatever Jack had uncovered, he knew his life was about to change forever. "What is it, Sarah?" Ben asked, his voice betraying a mixture of anxiety and curiosity. Sarah opened her mouth to speak, but before she could say a word, a sharp, insistent knock echoed through the house. Someone was pounding on the front door. The sound reverberated through the small home, making Sarah and Ben exchange panicked looks. Lily stirred slightly in her sleep but didn't wake up. "Stay here," Ben whispered to Sarah, who nodded silently, her eyes wide with fear. Ben walked cautiously to the front door, his heart pounding. He cracked it open, just enough to see who was there. Standing on the doorstep was his elderly neighbor, Mr. Greer, his face etched with worry. "Ben, thank God!" the old man exclaimed, his voice shaky. "I saw the lights on and thought, well, I thought it might be burglars." Ben let out a breath of relief, opening the door wider. "No, Mr. Greer, it's just me. I came back early from my trip." Greer squinted at him, his expression shifting from relief to curiosity. "And that woman and child I saw coming in. Who are they?" Ben hesitated, aware that Sarah might be listening to every word. They're friends, just staying for a few days. Greer's sharp gaze lingered on him, as if trying to read between the lines. "All right," he said slowly. "Well, if you need anything, you know where to find me." After seeing Mr. Greer off, Ben shut the door and leaned against it, feeling the weight of the situation pressing down on him. When he turned around, he found Sarah standing in the hallway, her eyes filled with unspoken questions. "It was just my neighbor," Ben explained. "He's curious." Sarah nodded slowly. "Ben, about what I was going to tell you." Before she could continue, Ben's phone buzzed again. It was another message from Jack. "Be careful, she isn't who she says she is." A chill ran through Ben as he glanced back at Sarah, torn between the urge to trust her and the fear of the unknown. "Sarah," he began carefully, choosing his words with deliberation, "I think we need to have a serious talk. There are things that aren't adding up." She nodded, resigned. "I know, but before we do, can I check on Lily?" Ben agreed, and Sarah returned to the guest room. Taking advantage of the moment alone, Ben opened a drawer in the living room desk, revealing a false bottom. From it, he retrieved a yellowed folder. With trembling hands, he opened it, revealing old photographs and documents. His eyes fixed on one photo in particular, Catherine, his late wife, standing beside a woman who bore an uncanny resemblance to Sarah. Both were wearing identical lockets. "What are you doing?" Sarah's voice startled him. She was standing in the doorway, her eyes locked on the open folder. "I think we both have explanations to give," Ben said, his voice steady despite the tremor in his hands. Sarah walked slowly into the room, her eyes never leaving the photo. "Cass, where did you get that?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "This is Catherine, my wife," Ben explained. "She passed away 5 years ago, and the woman beside her—" "That's my sister," Sarah finished, her voice filled with emotion. "Emily." The silence that followed was deafening. Ben felt as though the ground had shifted beneath him. "Your sister? But how—" Sarah sank heavily onto the sofa, her face pale. "It's a long story, Ben. One I didn't want to tell, but now I see I have no choice." She took a deep breath before continuing. "Emily and I grew up in foster care. These lockets were the only things we had from our mother. As adults, we went separate ways. Emily, she got involved with dangerous people." Ben listened intently, the pieces of the puzzle beginning to fall into place. "And Catherine, how does she fit into all of this?" Catherine was a social worker. She helped Emily leave an abusive relationship. They became close friends. Sarah paused, tears welling in her eyes. "But Emily's ex-boyfriend, a man named Ray, wouldn't let her go. He killed her," Ben said, the realization hitting him like a blow. "And Catherine was there." Sarah nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Catherine testified against Ray. She gave me Emily's locket to protect me. But now he's after you," Ben concluded, the gravity of the situation dawning on him. At that moment, a sharp cry shattered the air. "Mommy!" Sarah sprang to her feet. "Lily!" They rushed to the guest room to find Lily sitting up in bed, trembling and crying. "I had a nightmare," she sobbed. "The bad man was coming for us again." Sarah held Lily close, her eyes meeting Ben's with a look that spoke volumes. He understood immediately. The bad man wasn't just a figment of Lily's imagination. Ben felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He had offered shelter to these two lost souls, and now he was irrevocably drawn into their story. Watching Sarah comfort Lily, a resolve grew within him. He would protect them no matter the cost. It was what Catherine would have done. But even as he made that decision, Ben couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this story that he didn't yet know, and how dangerous the path ahead might be. A distant screech of tires on the street made them freeze. Ben rushed to the window, his heart pounding as he spotted a dark car parked across the street, its headlights off. The night was far from over, and the secrets were only beginning to unravel. The dark car remained motionless across the street, its presence looming like a storm cloud. Ben's heart raced as he stared at it, torn between the instinct to protect Sarah and Lily and the fear of the unknown danger closing in. "Sarah," he whispered, still peering out the window. "Grab Lily. We need to leave." Sarah, still holding her daughter tightly, looked at Ben with a mix of fear and determination. "Where will we go?" she asked, her voice barely audible. "There's a basement," Ben replied, finally turning to face her. "A hidden entrance in the back room. Catherine. She had it built as an emergency shelter." Sarah's eyes widened at the mention of Catherine's name, but she nodded silently, lifting Lily into her arms. Ben led them down the dark hallway, their footsteps muffled by the worn carpet. He stopped in front of a cabinet and moved it aside, revealing a hatch nearly invisible against the wooden floor. With a grunt, he lifted the hatch, exposing a narrow staircase descending into darkness. This was Catherine's idea. She always said it might come in handy. "You'll be safe here," Ben said, gesturing for Sarah to go down. Ben guided Sarah and Lily into the dark, narrow basement. The faint smell of damp wood and dust filled the space as Sarah descended the steps cautiously, holding Lily tightly. "Stay down here and don't come out until I say it's safe," Ben said firmly. He handed her a flashlight from his pocket. "I'll be back as soon as I can," Sarah nodded, her eyes filled with worry but also trust. "Be careful," she whispered, clutching Lily closer as Ben closed the hatch above them, shrouding the space in near darkness. He pushed the cabinet back into place and stood still for a moment, his pulse hammering in his ears. Returning to the front of the house, he stole another glance out the window. The man was now on the porch, moving with a sense of purpose. Ben braced himself as the doorbell rang sharply, echoing through the quiet house. "Who is it?" Ben called out, his voice steady despite the tension in his chest. "It's Ray," came the reply. The voice was calm, almost friendly, but it sent a chill down Ben's spine. He gritted his teeth, hesitating for just a moment before unlocking the door and opening it. Ray stood there, his presence filling the doorway. Dressed sharply in a dark coat, he had an air of confidence that bordered on arrogance. His piercing gaze swept over Ben, studying him intently. "Long time no see, Ben," Ray said, a faint smirk playing on his lips. "You've been busy." "What do you want, Ray?" Ben asked, his tone clipped. He stood firm, blocking the entrance, his hand gripping the door tightly. "Relax," Ray said, raising his hands in mock surrender. "I'm just here to talk. No need to get all defensive." His eyes flickered toward the interior of the house, scanning quickly. "Mind if I come in?" Ben hesitated. He knew he couldn't let Ray find Sarah and Lily, but refusing outright might escalate the situation. Reluctantly, he stepped aside, allowing Ray to enter. Ray walked in slowly, his sharp eyes taking in every detail of the room. "Nice place," he remarked, his tone casual but laced with something darker. "You've made quite the life for yourself, but I wonder, what would Catherine think about all of this?" Ben stiffened at the mention of his late wife's name. "Don't you dare bring her into this," he warned, his voice low and dangerous. Ray chuckled, turning to face Ben fully. "Oh, but she's already part of this, isn't she? Catherine was always so self-righteous, always trying to fix what wasn't hers to fix. That's what got her killed, you know." The words hit Ben like a physical blow. His fists clenched, but he forced himself to stay calm. "You're lying. Catherine died in an accident." "An accident," Ray repeated, his smirk growing. "Sure, that's the story you've told yourself. But deep down, you know the truth, don't you? She crossed the wrong people. People like me. And now, you've gone and done the same thing." Ben's jaw tightened, his mind racing. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said, though his voice betrayed his uncertainty. Ray's expression turned colder, more calculating. "I think you do. Let me make this simple. You've got something or someone that belongs to me. Hand them over and I'll leave quietly." Ben stepped closer, his stance unwavering. "You're not taking anyone from this house. Get out, Ray." For a moment, Ray seemed amused by Ben's defiance, but his smirk quickly faded, replaced by an icy glare. "You don't want to make me your enemy, Ben. Trust me." The tension in the room was palpable, the silence heavy with unspoken threats. Ben's heart raced as he weighed his options. He knew he couldn't let Ray win, but he also knew that standing up to him would come at a cost. From the corner of his eye, Ben noticed movement outside the window. It was faint but enough to catch his attention, A flicker of hope ignited. Perhaps Sarah and Lily had found a way out. Ray's gaze followed Ben's, and his eyes narrowed. "Looks like you've got company," he said, his tone dripping with suspicion. Ben positioned himself between Ray and the hallway leading to the back of the house. "If you're smart, you'll leave now." Ray smiled again, but there was no humor in it. "Oh, Ben, I've never been the type to walk away from unfinished business." Before Ben could respond, the sound of a door creaking open broke the tense standoff. Both men turned toward the noise, their eyes locking on the source. Sarah stood at the end of the hallway, her face pale but resolute. "Leave him alone, Ray," she said, her voice trembling but steady. "I'm the one you're looking for." Ray's eyes lit up with a dangerous glint as he took a step toward her. "Sarah, long time no see." "You don't get to come in here and terrorize people anymore," Sarah said, her voice growing stronger. "It's over, Ray. Whatever you think you have over me, it's done." Ray chuckled, shaking his head. "You're brave, I'll give you that, but brave doesn't mean smart." He took another step forward, but Ben moved to block him. "You heard her," Ben said firmly. "It's over." Ray glared at him, but before he could make another move, the distant wail of police sirens pierced the air. Ben's heart leapt at the sound. He had called the police earlier, just in case, and now their arrival was perfectly timed. Ray's smirk faltered as he realized what was happening. "Shall you think this is over?" he growled, his eyes darting toward the front door. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." "I don't care who you are," Ben replied. "You're done here." The sirens grew louder, and within moments, red and blue lights flashed outside. Ray hesitated for a brief moment before bolting for the door. Ben didn't try to stop him. Knowing the police would catch him, he turned to Sarah, who was clutching Lily protectively. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice softening. Sarah nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything." As the police swarmed the house and apprehended Ray outside, Ben felt a wave of relief wash over him. The danger had passed, but he knew their journey was far from over. As the police secured Ray in handcuffs, Ben stood by the window, watching the scene unfold with a mix of relief and exhaustion. The storm outside seemed to calm, mirroring the tension easing from his chest. Sarah, still holding Lily tightly, stepped closer to Ben. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I never meant to bring this to your door." Ben shook his head, his voice firm yet kind. "You don't need to apologize. You and Lily didn't bring this, Ray did. And we're going to make sure he never bothers you again." Lily looked up at Ben, her small voice breaking the heavy silence. "Is the bad man gone now?" Ben knelt to her level, a gentle smile on his face. "Yes, sweetheart. He's gone. You're safe now." Outside, an officer approached the house, knocking softly before stepping in. "Mr. Miller," he addressed Ben. "We'll need a statement from you and Ms. Evans about what happened tonight." Sarah nodded, still visibly shaken. "Of course," she said. "Anything to make sure he can't hurt us or anyone else again." Ben guided Sarah and Lily to sit at the kitchen table while the officer began taking their statements. As Sarah recounted the details of her history with Ray, Ben couldn't help but feel a growing sense of admiration for her strength. After the officer left, Sarah leaned back in her chair, visibly drained. Ben brought her a cup of tea, setting it gently in front of her. "You've been through a lot," he said softly, "but you're not alone in this." Sarah met his gaze, a flicker of hope in her tired eyes. "Thank you," she said. "I don't know what we would have done without you." Ben glanced over at Lily, who had fallen asleep on the couch, clutching a blanket tightly. "She's a strong kid," he said, his voice warm, "just like her mum." Sarah smiled faintly, her exhaustion momentarily giving way to gratitude. "I didn't think I could do this anymore, but now I feel like maybe we have a chance." Ben nodded, his resolve solidifying. "You do, and I'll do whatever I can to help." As the night wore on, the house grew quiet once more. Ben checked all the locks and windows, ensuring everything was secure before returning to the living room. Sarah had fallen asleep next to Lily, their faces peaceful despite the night's events. He sat down in his old armchair, watching them for a moment. A sense of purpose filled him, a purpose he hadn't felt since Catherine's passing. For the first time in years, His home felt alive again. The early rays of dawn began to filter through the windows, signaling the start of a new day. Though challenges undoubtedly lay ahead, Ben felt ready to face them. Together, they would rebuild their lives, one step at a time. As the first light of morning bathed the room in a soft glow, Ben rose from his chair and began preparing breakfast. The scent of coffee and warm toast soon filled the house, drawing Sarah awake. She stirred on the couch, her eyes fluttering open to see Ben bustling about the kitchen. Lily remained curled up beside her, her small chest rising and falling in a steady rhythm. "Sis, good morning," Ben greeted, his voice gentle but steady. "I figured you both could use a good meal after everything last night." Sarah managed a small smile, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Thank you for everything, not just for this, but for standing by us." "You don't have to thank me," Ben replied, setting plates on the table. "Catherine always believed in helping people, no matter what. I think she'd be proud." Sarah's expression softened at the mention of Catherine's name. "She sounds like she was an amazing woman." Ben nodded, a distant look in his eyes. "She was, and I think, in some way, she led me to this moment. To helping you and Lily." Their conversation was interrupted by the soft sound of Lily waking. She rubbed her eyes, glancing around the room before smiling sleepily. "Morning, Mr. Ben," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Ben grinned. "Morning, Lily. How about some pancakes?" Lily's face lit up at the suggestion, and the three of them sat down together, sharing their first meal in what felt like a moment of peace. After breakfast, Sarah helped clean up, her movements purposeful and calm. "What happens now?" she asked quietly, as Ben rinsed the dishes. Ben paused, thinking. "First, we make sure you and Lily are truly safe. The police will follow up with their investigation, but until we know Ray can't hurt you, you'll stay here." Sarah hesitated. "I don't want to impose on you any longer than necessary. You've already done so much." "You're not imposing," Ben replied firmly. "This house has been empty for too long. It's better with you here." Sarah's eyes glistened with unshed tears, but she nodded. "All right, thank you." Over the next few days, the house settled into a quiet rhythm. Lily explored the yard and played with the small collection of toys Ben had found in an old chest. Sarah began to relax, her guard slowly lowering as the shadow of fear receded. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Sarah turned to Ben. "I think we can start over, Lily and I. I don't know where yet, but somewhere." Ben studied her face, her resolve clear, despite the lingering traces of weariness. "Wherever you go, you'll have a place here if you need it." Sarah smiled, her gratitude shining through. "Thank you, Ben, for everything." The sound of a car pulling into the driveway interrupted their conversation. Ben tensed, standing protectively in front of Sarah and Lily, but as the car door opened, a familiar figure emerged. It was the officer who had taken their statement. "Good evening," the officer greeted, holding a folder in his hand. "I thought you'd want to hear this in person." Ben nodded, ushering Sarah and Lily inside. They gathered around the kitchen table as the officer laid out the contents of the folder. "Ray has been formally charged," the officer explained, "and we've uncovered more about his involvement in a larger network of criminal activity. Your cooperation has been instrumental in bringing him to justice." Relief washed over Sarah's face. "So it's over?" she asked, her voice trembling with hope. "For now, yes," the officer assured her. "But we recommend staying cautious. Networks like this don't always go down quietly." As the officer left, Ben turned to Sarah, his expression serious. "You're safe here for as long as you need." Sarah reached out, placing her hand over Ben's. "I think for the first time in a long time, I believe that." Over the following weeks, their lives slowly began to rebuild. Sarah found work at a local diner, while Lily started attending a nearby school. The house, once silent and empty, was now filled with laughter and warmth. One evening, as they sat together on the porch, Lily tugged on Ben's sleeve. "Mr. Ben," she said, her eyes bright with curiosity, "do you think this is our home now?" Ben looked at Sarah, her smile gentle and knowing. He turned back to Lily, a soft smile spreading across his face. "Yes, Lily, I think it is." The stars began to emerge in the darkening sky, and the three of them sat in comfortable silence, knowing that, together, they had found a place where they truly belonged. And though challenges still lay ahead, one thing was certain: they had each other, and that made all the difference. Over the next few months, the quiet routines of life in the house deepened. The lingering shadows of their shared past began to fade, replaced by a sense of normalcy that none of them had dared to dream of before. Lily thrived at her new school, making friends and often bringing home stories of her day that filled the dinner table with laughter. Ben marveled at how quickly she adjusted, her resilience a testament to the love and care Sarah had always given her. Sarah, too, began to bloom in this newfound stability. She grew close to the community, her warmth and determination earning her a place among the locals. The diner where she worked became a hub of friendly chatter, and Sarah found herself smiling more often than not. For Ben, the transformation of his once empty house into a home filled with life and love was nothing short of miraculous. He often found himself pausing in quiet moments, reflecting on how far they had come since that rainy night. One evening, as Ben returned from a trip to the local hardware store, he found Sarah and Lily in the living room, assembling a photo album. Pictures of their adventures, days at the park, holiday meals, and simple moments of joy were spread out across the table. "We're making memories," Lily explained, holding up a photo of the three of them grinning by a pumpkin patch. "So we never forget how happy we are here." Ben felt a lump rise in his throat as he looked at the photos. "That's a great idea," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Let me help." The three of them spent hours arranging the photos, laughing over the memories and imagining the many more they would create together. By the time they finished, the album was a testament to their journey, a record of how they had built something beautiful from the pieces of their broken past. That night, as Ben lay awake, he found himself thinking about Catherine. He could almost hear her voice, gentle and encouraging, urging him to embrace the happiness he had found. For the first time in years, he felt at peace with the past. The next morning, Ben awoke to the smell of pancakes. Lily had decided to surprise him with breakfast, though her culinary skills still needed some fine-tuning. Sarah stood nearby, laughing as she helped Lily clean up the flour that now coated the counter. "Good morning," Ben said, stepping into the kitchen with a smile. "What's all this?" "A celebration," Lily declared proudly, holding up a slightly lopsided pancake. "Because we're a family now." The words hit Ben like a warm wave. He looked at Sarah, who nodded, her eyes shining with emotion. "She's right," Sarah said softly. "We are a family." From that day forward, the house became a sanctuary not just for Ben, Sarah, and Lily, but for the friends and neighbors who had supported them through their struggles. It was a place of laughter, love, and hope, a testament to the power of second chances. And though life would inevitably bring its challenges, they faced them together, knowing that their bond was stronger than anything the world could throw at them. On a sunny spring afternoon, as they sat on the porch watching Lily play in the yard, Ben turned to Sarah. "Do you ever think about how this all started?" he asked. Sarah smiled, her gaze following Lily's joyful movements. "All the time, one act of kindness. That's all it took to change everything." Ben nodded, his heart full, "And I wouldn't change a thing." As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the yard in a warm golden glow, Ben, Sarah, and Lily sat together, their hearts united by a love that had weathered every storm. The house, once a symbol of solitude and loss, now stood as a beacon of hope, a place where broken lives had been mended, and a future filled with endless possibilities awaited. And as the first stars appeared in the sky, Ben knew, without a doubt, that this was just the beginning of their story. Together, they had found their way home. The days that followed were filled with quiet joy and a deep sense of belonging. Ben, Sarah, and Lily fell into a natural rhythm, their lives intertwined in a way that felt effortless, yet profoundly meaningful. The community, aware of their journey, embraced them with open arms. Neighbors often dropped by with baked goods or invitations to small gatherings, making it clear that the once isolated Ben had become an integral part of their lives. Lily continued to thrive at school, her laughter echoing through the halls of their home as she recounted her daily adventures. She quickly became the center of their world, her boundless energy and curiosity reminding both Ben and Sarah of the beauty in simple moments. One evening, as the family sat together in the living room, Lily's small hands worked diligently on a drawing. "What are you making, sweetheart?" Sarah asked, peeking over her shoulder. "Our family," Lily replied matter-of-factly. She held up the picture, a vibrant sketch of herself, Sarah and Ben standing in front of their house, the sun shining brightly above them. Ben took the picture, his throat tightening with emotion. "It's perfect," he said, smiling at Lily. "I will frame it and hang it right here in the living room." Lily's face lit up with pride, and Sarah placed a hand on Ben's arm, her touch warm and reassuring. "You've made this possible," she said softly, "for both of us." As spring turned to summer, the family began making plans for small trips, a picnic by the lake, a day at the local amusement park, and even a weekend camping trip in the nearby mountains. Each outing strengthened their bond and created memories they cherished deeply. During one such trip, as they sat by the campfire roasting marshmallows, Lily looked up at the stars and asked, "Do you think Mommy Catherine can see us?" Ben paused, his gaze fixed on the flickering flames. "I think she can," he said finally, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "And I think she's proud of us, of how far we've come." Sarah reached for Ben's hand, squeezing it gently. "She gave us this chance," she said, "and we're honoring her every day." As the fire crackled softly and the night enveloped them, Ben felt a sense of peace he hadn't known in years. Catherine's memory was no longer a source of pain, but a guiding light that had led him to this moment. Back at home, their days settled into a comforting routine. Ben found himself growing closer to Sarah, their connection deepening as they shared their hopes, fears, and dreams for the future. One evening, as they stood together on the porch, Ben turned to Sarah, his expression serious but tender. "There's something I've been meaning to say," he began. Sarah looked at him, her eyes filled with curiosity and warmth. "What is it?" Ben took a deep breath, his heart pounding. "I never thought I'd have this again, a family, a home, a reason to wake up every morning. And it's all because of you and Lily. I just wanted to say thank you." Sarah's smile was soft but radiant. "You don't have to thank me," she said. "We found each other when we needed it most. That's what makes this so special." Their conversation was interrupted by Lily running onto the porch, her arms wide open. "Group hug," she shouted, throwing herself between them. They laughed, wrapping their arms around her as the setting sun bathed them in golden light. As the seasons continued to change, so did their lives. Ben began renovating parts of the house, turning it into a space that truly reflected their new family. Sarah, with Ben's encouragement, started taking night classes to pursue her dream of becoming a teacher. On the day Sarah graduated, Lily and Ben sat in the audience, their cheers the loudest in the room. When Sarah received her diploma, her eyes immediately sought theirs, her face glowing with pride and gratitude. "You did it, Mommy," Lily exclaimed as they reunited outside the auditorium, throwing her arms around Sarah's waist. "We did it," Sarah corrected, looking at Ben, "all of us together." That night, they celebrated with a small party at home. Neighbors and friends filled the house, their laughter and joy a testament to how far Ben, Sarah, and Lily had come. As the party wound down and the guests began to leave, Ben found himself standing in the kitchen, watching Sarah and Lily dance to the faint music still playing in the background. "You've built something beautiful here," said Mr. Greer, who had stayed behind to help clean up. Ben nodded, his heart full. "It's more than I ever thought I'd have again." "You deserve it," Greer replied, clapping a hand on Ben's shoulder. "You all do." As the years passed, the bond between Ben, Sarah, and Lily only grew stronger. Their house became a symbol of love and resilience, a place where second chances flourished. And though life wasn't always perfect, they faced every challenge with the unshakable strength of a family built not just by fate, but by choice. Together, they proved that even in the face of darkness, kindness and love could create a light strong enough to guide the way home. The years rolled by, bringing with them moments of joy, challenges, and growth. Lily blossomed into a bright, kind-hearted teenager, who carried the warmth and resilience of her mother and the steady strength of Ben. Sarah, now a dedicated teacher, had become a cornerstone of the local school. Known for her compassion and commitment to her students, she often reflected on how far she had come. The echoes of her past now softened by the life she had built with Ben and Lily. Ben, too, found a renewed sense of purpose. He spent his days maintaining the house and garden, often tinkering with small projects that kept his hands busy and his heart content. In the evenings, he cherished the quiet moments with Sarah and Lily, their laughter filling the spaces that had once been silent. One sunny afternoon, as the three of them worked together in the garden, Lily paused and looked at Ben. "Dad," she said, her voice clear and confident, "do you think we could plant a tree? Something that will grow with us?" Ben smiled, touched by the idea. "That's a wonderful thought, Lily. What kind of tree?" Lily thought for a moment before replying, "A cherry tree, something that blossoms every year, like our family." Sarah nodded, her eyes shining with emotion. "A cherry tree it is." Together, they chose the perfect spot in the yard and planted the tree, their hands working side by side as they laughed and shared stories. The tree became a symbol of their journey, a living reminder of the love and strength that had brought them together. Over the years, the cherry tree grew tall and strong, its blossoms a beautiful display each spring. It became a gathering place for the family, a spot where they celebrated milestones and shared quiet moments of reflection. On one such day, as they sat beneath the tree, Lily turned to Ben and Sarah with a thoughtful expression. "Do you think we'll always stay here?" she asked. Ben looked at Sarah, their unspoken understanding passing between them. "Home isn't just a place," he said gently. "It's the people you share it with. Wherever we are, as long as we're together, we'll always be home." Lily smiled, her heart full of love and gratitude for the family she had been given. The cherry blossoms swayed gently in the breeze above them, a testament to the seasons they had weathered together and the promise of many more to come. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the yard in a warm golden glow, Ben, Sarah, and Lily sat together beneath the tree, their hearts united by the unbreakable bond they had forged. The journey that had brought them together was far from ordinary, but it was theirs, a story of kindness, courage, and the transformative power of love. And as the first stars appeared in the sky, they knew without a doubt that their story would continue to grow and blossom, just like the cherry tree, with roots deep and strong and branches reaching toward the infinite possibilities of the future. As the years passed, the cherry tree grew to symbolize the heart of the family. Each spring, its blossoms marked new beginnings and reminded them of how far they had come. It became a tradition to gather under its branches to celebrate life's milestones. One summer evening, Lily, now a young woman with dreams of her own, sat beneath the tree with Ben and Sarah. She held a letter in her hands, her excitement barely contained. "I got in," she announced, her voice trembling with joy. Ben and Sarah exchanged looks of pride and disbelief. "Where, sweetheart?" Sarah asked, though she already suspected the answer. "The university," Lily replied, tears of happiness glistening in her eyes. "They accepted me into their art program." Ben hugged her tightly, his voice thick with emotion. "That's amazing, Lily. You've worked so hard for this." Sarah held her hand, her smile radiant. "We're so proud of you. Your dad would be too," she added, her voice soft. Lily nodded, glancing up at the cherry blossoms swaying gently in the evening breeze. "I couldn't have done it without you both. This will always be home, no matter where I go." The following months were filled with preparations for Lily's move to the city. Though the thought of her leaving brought bittersweet emotions, Ben and Sarah knew this was the next step in her journey. On the day of her departure, they stood by the cherry tree, the three of them sharing a quiet moment before saying goodbye. Lily embraced them tightly, her voice breaking as she said, "I'll miss you every day." "And we'll miss you," Ben replied, his heart heavy but full of pride. "But you're ready for this. Go show the world what you can do." As Lily's car disappeared down the road, the house felt quieter than it had in years. Ben and Sarah leaned on each other, their shared strength a comfort in the stillness. "She'll be back," Sarah said with a smile, her hand resting on Ben's. "This is her home. It always will be." Ben nodded, looking out at the cherry tree. and we'll be here waiting whenever she needs us. The seasons continued to change, and life moved forward. Lily's visits were filled with stories of her adventures and the new life she was building. The cherry tree stood as a reminder of their shared roots, grounding them no matter where life took them. One day, years later, Lily returned home with a new light in her eyes. "I have someone I want you to meet," she said, her voice shy but excited. Ben and Sarah welcomed the young man with open arms, their hearts swelling with joy as they saw the happiness he brought to Lily's life. As the family gathered under the cherry tree for a picnic, laughter filled the air. The young man listened intently as Lily recounted stories of her childhood and the journey that had shaped their family. "This tree has seen everything," Lily said, resting her hand on its trunk. "It's part of who we are." Ben smiled, his heart full as he watched his daughter and the life she was building. The cherry tree stood tall above them, its blossoms a testament to the love and resilience that had carried them through the years. And as the sun set, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink, the family sat together beneath its branches, knowing that no matter where life took them, they would always find their way back to each other. The years continued to roll by, and the cherry tree grew even stronger, its branches stretching skyward, just as the family's bond deepened with each passing season. It had become the heart of their home, a symbol of the life they had built together. Ben and Sarah settled into a peaceful rhythm as they grew older. Their days were filled with quiet joy, from tending the garden to sharing long walks and evenings under the stars. Their love had matured into something steady and profound, a bond that had weathered every storm. Lily's visits became frequent, often accompanied by her husband and later her own children. The house that had once been quiet and solitary now echoed with the laughter and footsteps of the next generation. On one particular spring day, as the cherry tree burst into full bloom, the family gathered for a celebration. It was Sarah and Ben's wedding anniversary, a milestone that marked not just their love, but the life they had nurtured together. 50 years, Lily said, raising a glass in a toast, to the two people who taught me what love and family really mean. Ben and Sarah shared a look, their hands entwined as they sat beneath the cherry tree. "It's been a beautiful journey," Ben said, his voice warm and steady, "and it's all because of the love we've shared and the family we've built." Their grandchildren played around them, their laughter mingling with the soft rustle of cherry blossoms in the breeze. The moment was perfect, filled with the kind of peace that only comes from a life well lived. That evening, as the sun set over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, Ben and Sarah sat quietly beneath the tree, their hearts full of gratitude. "This tree," Sarah said, her voice soft, "it's seen everything, hasn't it? The good, the hard, the beautiful." Ben nodded, his hand resting on hers. "It's part of us now. A reminder that no matter what, we always find a way to grow and thrive." The stars began to appear, twinkling against the deepening sky. Ben and Sarah sat together in comfortable silence, their hearts beating in perfect harmony. As the night enveloped them, they knew that their story, rooted in kindness, resilience, and love, would continue to grow, just like the cherry tree, leaving a legacy that would endure for generations to come. The cherry tree became a gathering place for the family through every phase of life. Birthdays, weddings, anniversaries, and quiet moments of reflection unfolded under its sprawling branches. As the family expanded, its roots grew deeper, mirroring the connections that held them together. Ben and Sarah watched as their grandchildren climbed the tree's sturdy limbs, just as Lily had done as a child. One summer afternoon, Lily's youngest child, a curious boy with bright eyes, approached Ben. "Grandpa," he asked, "why do we love this tree so much?" Ben smiled, lifting the boy onto his lap. "Because this tree reminds us of where we come from," he said. "It's seen every part of our journey and stands tall no matter what comes its way." The boy looked up at the blossoms swaying gently in the breeze. "So, it's like our family," he said thoughtfully. Ben nodded, his heart swelling with pride at the wisdom in such a young soul. As the seasons continued to change, the family faced life's inevitable trials, but the cherry tree remained a constant, anchoring them through every storm. One particularly cold winter, Sarah fell ill. Though the family rallied around her with love and care, her health gradually declined. She spent her final days surrounded by those she loved, her spirit as strong as ever. On her last afternoon, Ben brought Sarah to sit under the cherry tree one final time. Wrapped in a warm blanket, she gazed at the bare branches, her eyes filled with peace. "Do you remember," she whispered to Ben, "the first time we sat here together? I knew even then that this would be our home." Ben held her hand, his voice steady despite the lump in his throat. "You've made it so much more than that, Sarah. You've made it a haven, a place where love always grows." Sarah smiled softly, her gaze drifting to the horizon. "Promise me," she said, her voice barely audible, "that you'll keep this tree alive. Let it stand as a reminder of everything we've built together." "I promise," Ben said, his voice firm. "This tree will always stand, just like our love." When Sarah passed, the family gathered under the cherry tree to honor her life. They shared stories of her kindness, her strength, and the love that had shaped them all. Ben, though heartbroken, found solace in the legacy Sarah had left behind. He poured his energy into caring for the tree, just as he had cared for their family. Years later, as Ben grew older, he spent more time sitting beneath the tree, reflecting on the life he had lived. The blossoms continued to bloom each spring, a testament to the enduring strength of their love. One sunny afternoon, as Ben rested beneath the tree surrounded by the laughter of his grandchildren and great-grandchildren, he closed his eyes with a peaceful smile. The family found him there, his hand resting on the tree's trunk as if he were part of it. Though they grieved his passing, they celebrated the incredible legacy he and Sarah had created. The cherry tree stood tall, its branches sheltering the family as they shared memories and tears. It became a place of remembrance, a symbol of the love and resilience that had defined their lives. Generations came and went, but the tree remained, its blossoms marking the passage of time and the enduring strength of family. And though Ben and Sarah were no longer there to sit beneath its branches, their presence was felt in every petal, every leaf, and every breeze that rustled through its limbs. The cherry tree stood as a beacon of hope, love, and unity, a timeless reminder that even in the face of life's greatest challenges, love can take root and flourish, creating something truly everlasting. The cherry tree continued to bloom every spring, its blossoms telling the story of resilience, love, and the countless memories created beneath its branches. Generations of the family grew, each adding their own chapters to the legacy started by Ben and Sarah. Lily, now a grandmother herself, often brought her grandchildren to the tree. She would sit beneath it, sharing the stories of her childhood and the lessons she had learned from her parents. "This tree is where it all began," she would say, her voice filled with reverence. "It's not just a tree. It's a part of us." The children would listen with wide-eyed wonder, running their fingers along the tree's bark as if they could feel the history it held within. One sunny afternoon, Lily's youngest grandchild, a bright and curious girl, planted a seedling near the cherry tree. "This is for the future," she explained, "so we can grow with it." The family embraced the idea, caring for the seedling with the same love and dedication they had given to the original tree. Over time, the new tree began to grow, its branches reaching toward the sky just like its predecessor. The two trees stood side by side, their blossoms blending in the breeze, a perfect symbol of the family's enduring spirit. As the years went on, the family became known in the community for their strength and unity. The cherry trees became a gathering place, not just for them, but for neighbors and friends seeking comfort and inspiration. Weddings, birthdays, and countless celebrations were held beneath the trees, each event adding another layer to the story that began with a simple act of kindness. The family's legacy lived on through the trees, a testament to the power of love, resilience, and the connections that make life meaningful. Though Ben and Sarah's faces were no longer seen, their presence was felt in every laugh, every tear, and every blossom that graced the cherry trees. Their story had become timeless, woven into the fabric of their family and the lives of all who came to know it. And as the sun set on yet another beautiful day beneath the cherry trees, the family stood together, their hearts united by the unbreakable bond that had been passed down through generations. The trees whispered in the wind, their branches swaying gently, as if to remind them all that love, true, steadfast love, never truly fades. It grows, it blossoms, and it endures, just as the cherry trees and the family beneath them always would. The cherry trees remained the family's sanctuary, their blossoms marking the passage of time and the deepening bonds of those who gathered beneath their branches. Each new season brought fresh faces to the family's ever-growing legacy, and the stories of Ben and Sarah were told and retold, becoming cherished traditions. On a quiet spring morning, Lily, now in her twilight years, sat beneath the trees with her great-grandchildren. They played around her, their laughter filling the air as she closed her eyes, the memories of her life swirling around her like the petals that drifted on the breeze. One of the children ran to her, a blossom in hand. "Great-Grandma Lily," the child said, "why do these trees make everyone so happy?" Lily opened her eyes, her smile warm and wise. "Because these trees remind us of what matters most," she said. "Family, love, and never giving up." The child tilted their head, as if pondering the weight of her words. "Will these trees always be here?" Lily nodded, her voice steady. "As long as we take care of them, they'll take care of us. Just like your great-great-grandpa Ben and great-great-grandma Sarah took care of our family." The child smiled and skipped back to the others, leaving Lily with her thoughts. She looked up at the intertwined branches of the two cherry trees, their blossoms blending together in a way that seemed almost magical. "Thank you," she whispered softly, her words carried away by the breeze. "For everything." As the family gathered for yet another celebration beneath the trees, their love and unity stood as a testament to the strength of the roots that Ben and Sarah had planted all those years ago. The cherry trees, now towering and magnificent, continued to bloom year after year, their blossoms a reminder of the enduring legacy of kindness, resilience, and love. And though time would march on and new generations would come, the story of the family and their cherry trees would live on, carried in the hearts of all who sat beneath their shade. For in the end, the cherry trees were more than just trees. They were a symbol of a love that had weathered every storm, and a family that had flourished through the simple yet profound act of caring for one another. And so, as the sun set on another spring day, the family gathered once more beneath the cherry trees, their laughter and love blending with the gentle rustle of blossoms in the breeze. The trees stood tall and strong, their roots deep and unshakable, just like the family that had grown around them. And as the first stars appeared in the evening sky, the cherry trees whispered their timeless message: love endures, families grow, and the legacy of those who came before lives on in every bloom. As the family continued to gather beneath the cherry trees year after year, the traditions they shared grew richer, their bonds deepened by the stories that connected them all. Lily's great-grandchildren began to pass down the tales of Ben and Sarah to their own children, ensuring that the legacy of love, kindness, and resilience lived on in the hearts of each new generation. One day, decades later, the two cherry trees stood at the center of a sprawling family reunion. The yard was filled with laughter, conversation, and the joyful chaos of children running and playing. It was a testament to the enduring strength of the family. At the reunion, a young boy, curious and full of questions, approached one of the oldest family members present. "So why do we love these trees so much?" he asked, his wide eyes fixed on the blossoms swaying in the breeze. The elder smiled, their voice soft but steady. "Because these trees remind us of where we started," they said, "of the love that brought us together and the strength that kept us growing." The boy tilted his head, trying to understand the weight of those words. "Will they always be here?" he asked. The elder looked at the intertwined branches of the cherry trees, their blossoms glowing softly in the fading light. "As long as we care for them, they'll stand tall, just like our family." The boy nodded, a smile spreading across his face. "Then I'll take care of them when I'm big." The elder chuckled and patted the boy's shoulder. "That's the spirit. These trees, like our family, are meant to grow and thrive." As the evening wore on, the family gathered in a circle beneath the cherry trees, their voices blending as they shared memories, dreams, and laughter. The blossoms, stirred by a gentle breeze, seemed to dance above them, a quiet reminder of the roots they shared and the legacy they carried forward. The cherry trees stood as a beacon of hope, their beauty a symbol of the love and resilience that had weathered countless seasons. And though time would inevitably bring change, the family knew that as long as they nurtured the roots of their shared story, they would continue to bloom together for generations to come. Under the vast expanse of stars that night, the cherry trees whispered their timeless truth. Love endures, families grow, and the seeds of kindness always find a way to flourish. The family reunion under the cherry trees became an annual tradition, a time for every member, near and far, to gather, celebrate, and reconnect with their roots. Each year brought new faces to the gatherings, from newborns cradled in blankets to elders who shared the wisdom of their long lives. One particularly memorable reunion saw a third cherry tree planted beside the original two. This tree, lovingly placed by the youngest generation, was meant to honor not just the legacy of Ben and Sarah, but also the enduring strength of the family that had blossomed under their care. "This tree is for the future," one of the children declared, their hands covered in soil. "So the people who come after us will know they're part of something special." The act of planting the third tree brought tears to the eyes of many, the symbolism not lost on anyone. It stood as a testament to the continuation of a legacy built on love, resilience, and the unwavering support of family. Over the years, the three cherry trees became a central part of the family's identity. Weddings were held beneath their branches, their blossoms serving as a canopy of beauty and hope. Babies were christened there, their laughter mingling with the rustling leaves, and memorials honored those who had passed, their spirits forever woven into the fabric of the family. One summer evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Lily, now the family's matriarch, stood beneath the cherry trees with her great-great-grandchildren. She watched as they played and laughed, their energy filling the air with life. "Do you ever think about them?" one of the children asked, tugging on her hand. "The people who started all this." Lily knelt beside the child, her voice soft but full of conviction. "Every day," she said. "Ben and Sarah were more than just our ancestors. They were the heart of this family. Everything we have started with them." The child nodded thoughtfully, gazing up at the blossoms that seemed to glow in the fading light. "So I think they'd be happy," they said. Lily smiled, a warmth spreading through her chest. "I think so too." That night, as the family gathered around a fire pit near the trees, stories of Ben and Sarah filled the air once more. Each tale carried the weight of their sacrifices and the joy of their triumphs, ensuring that their legacy would never be forgotten. The cherry trees, now towering and majestic, stood as silent witnesses to the love that had nurtured them for generations. Their blossoms continued to bloom year after year, a reminder of the enduring power of kindness and connection. And as the stars emerged in the night sky, the family sat together beneath the trees, their hearts united by the roots that bound them and the branches that reached toward an infinite future. The cherry trees became more than just a family symbol. They turned into a community landmark. Neighbors and friends often visited, drawn by the beauty of the blossoms and the warmth of the family that welcomed everyone beneath their shade. Over time, the family began hosting public celebrations during the cherry blossom season. People from all walks of life came to share in the joy, creating bonds that extended far beyond the family itself. One spring, as the blossoms reached their peak, a local artist approached the family with an idea. "I'd like to paint the cherry trees," she said, "to capture their beauty and the story they represent." The family eagerly agreed, and the resulting painting became a masterpiece, a vibrant depiction of the trees in full bloom, surrounded by generations of laughter and love. It was displayed in the town hall, a testament to the legacy of kindness and resilience that had started with Ben and Sarah. The painting inspired others to share their own stories, and soon the cherry trees became a symbol of hope for the entire town. Visitors came from far and wide to see them, drawn by the tales of love and perseverance. Lily, now in her final years, often sat beneath the trees, watching as people marveled at their beauty. She would smile quietly, knowing that the legacy she had inherited and nurtured was thriving. One day, as she rested under the largest tree, a young woman approached her. "You're Lily, aren't you?" the woman asked. "You're the one whose family planted these trees?" Lily nodded, her eyes twinkling with wisdom. "Yes, that's me." The young woman sat beside her, looking up at the blossoms. "These trees changed my life," she said. "Their story gave me the courage to rebuild my own family." Lily's heart swelled with pride and gratitude. "That's the magic of these trees," she said. "Now they remind us that no matter how broken things may seem, love can always grow again." As the sun set, casting golden light through the branches, Lily closed her eyes and took a deep breath. The scent of the blossoms filled the air, and she felt an overwhelming sense of peace. That evening, surrounded by her family, Lily passed away peacefully under the cherry trees. Her loss was deeply felt, but her legacy lived on in every branch, every blossom, and every story told beneath their shade. The family continued to honor Lily and the generations before her, planting new trees to ensure that the legacy of love and resilience would flourish for centuries to come. Over time, the cherry grove expanded, its blossoms creating a breathtaking canopy that stretched as far as the eye could see. The trees stood as a living tribute to the power of kindness and the bonds of family. And though the faces and names of those who had come before faded into history, their spirit remained alive in the laughter, love, and unity of the generations who followed. The cherry trees, ever blooming and steadfast, whispered their timeless message to all who came to sit beneath their branches. Love endures, hope grows, and the seeds of kindness can transform the world. As the cherry grove grew and became an integral part of the town's identity, the community decided to commemorate the trees with an annual festival. The Cherry Blossom Festival became a time for celebration, reflection, and unity, drawing visitors from near and far. The festival featured music, food, and storytelling, with the family at its heart, sharing the origins of the grove and the love that had nurtured it. Each year, a new sapling was planted, symbolizing the continuation of their shared legacy. Among the festival's many attractions was the Legacy Walk, a path winding through the grove, where plaques honored the family members who had shaped its history. At the center of the walk stood a large stone monument engraved with the words, "Planted with love, grown with resilience." Generations of the family gathered annually for the festival, their laughter echoing through the grove as they shared stories, created new memories, and welcomed new faces into their fold. One spring, a family member named Clara, a writer, decided to document the entire history of the cherry trees and the family that had grown with them. Her book, Roots and Blossoms, The Legacy of the Cherry Grove, became a bestseller, spreading the family's story to countless readers. Clara often visited schools, libraries, and community centers to share the tale of Ben, Sarah, Lily, and the generations that followed. Her words inspired many to reflect on their own families and to plant seeds of love and kindness in their own lives. The Cherry Grove, now a sprawling sanctuary of beauty and tranquility, became a place where people sought solace and inspiration. Weddings, reunions, and quiet moments of contemplation unfolded beneath its branches, each adding another layer to the story of the grove. One day, a journalist visiting the grove asked a family elder, "What do you think makes this place so special?" The elder smiled, their gaze resting on the blossoms above. "It's not just the trees," they replied. "It's the love that planted them, the resilience that nurtured them, and the stories that have grown with them." The journalist nodded thoughtfully, their pen moving quickly across the page. "It's a reminder," they said, "that something as simple as planting a tree can create a legacy that touches countless lives." As the years passed, the grove continued to thrive, its blossoms painting the sky with vibrant colors each spring. The family, now spanning multiple generations, remained dedicated to preserving the grove and the values it represented. On the 100th anniversary of the first cherry trees planting, the family hosted the largest festival yet. People from all over the world came to celebrate, their hearts touched by the story of love, resilience, and the enduring power of kindness. At the festival's closing ceremony, a great-great-grandchild of Lily stood before the crowd, their voice strong and clear. "These trees remind us that love is the root of everything good," they said. "As long as we nurture it, love will continue to grow, no matter the season." The crowd erupted into applause, their faces lit with hope and inspiration. Beneath the canopy of blossoms, strangers became friends and families found a renewed sense of connection. As the sun set on that momentous day, the cherry grove stood as a beacon of light, its branches swaying gently in the breeze. The trees whispered their timeless message to all who had come to celebrate. Love endures, resilience grows, and legacies bloom. And so, the cherry grove remained, a living testament to the power of love and the bonds of family, its blossoms carrying the stories of the past into an infinite future. As time moved forward, the cherry grove became a symbol of unity, not just for the family, but for the entire community. People began to see it as a place where differences could be set aside and connections could be nurtured. Local schools organized trips to the grove, where children learned about the history of the trees and the family whose love and dedication had made it possible. Teachers used the story as a lesson in kindness, resilience, and the importance of leaving a lasting legacy. Artists continued to find inspiration in the grove, painting, photographing, and composing music that captured its beauty and the emotions it evoked. The cherry trees, with their ever-blooming blossoms, became a muse for countless creators. One spring, a filmmaker approached the family with an idea to create a documentary about the grove's history. And this isn't just a story about trees, the filmmaker explained. It's a story about life, love, and the power of hope. The family agreed, and the documentary was a labor of love. Interviews with family members, townspeople, and visitors painted a vivid picture of the grove's impact on generations. The film's release brought even more attention to the grove, turning it into a symbol of inspiration for people worldwide. Visitors came from distant places, drawn by the story they had seen or read. Many brought their own seeds to plant, hoping to start their own legacy of love and resilience back home. The grove became a bridge between the past and the future, its blossoms carrying the stories of those who had nurtured it, while welcoming those who sought its inspiration. One day, a child who had visited the grove with their family returned as an adult, bringing their own children. They stood beneath the towering trees, marveling at how little they had changed despite the passage of time. "I remember being your age," the parent said to their child. "I sat right here and listened to the story of Ben and Sarah, and now it's my turn to tell you." As the child listened, their eyes wide with wonder, the parent felt the same sense of connection and belonging that had touched their heart years ago. The cherry grove continued to weave its magic, connecting generations through its beauty and the love it represented. And so the legacy of the cherry grove endured, its roots stretching deep into the past, while its branches reached toward an infinite future. The blossoms continued to bloom, a reminder that love, resilience, and kindness could create something truly timeless. Beneath the shade of the cherry trees, families found solace, inspiration, and connection, their laughter and stories mingling with the gentle rustle of leaves. And as the cherry grove stood tall against the ever-changing seasons, it whispered its message to all who came to see it. Love grows, legacies endure, and the seeds of kindness, once planted, can transform the world. Over the decades, the cherry grove became an enduring symbol of hope and a site of pilgrimage for those seeking inspiration. Couples traveled to the grove to exchange vows, believing that the tree's story would bless their unions with strength and resilience. Beneath the blossoms, artists found their voices. Writers crafted tales of love and redemption, and families reconnected, rediscovering the bonds that held them together. The grove also became a sanctuary for those who had lost their way. People struggling with hardship found solace in its beauty, their spirits lifted by the whispers of its leaves and the stories etched into its roots. One such visitor, a young woman burdened by loss, came to the grove seeking peace. As she sat beneath the largest cherry tree, a plaque caught her eye. It read, "Planted with love, grown with resilience." She traced the words with her fingers, feeling their weight. Inspired by the legacy behind those words, the woman decided to rebuild her life. She later returned to the grove, bringing with her a sapling she had nurtured herself. She planted it among the others, adding her own chapter to the grove's ever-growing story. The grove's reputation continued to grow, and with it, so did the community's dedication to preserving its history. A foundation was established to care for the trees and maintain the traditions that had sprouted from them. On the foundation's anniversary, the town held a special ceremony to honor the family, whose kindness had sown the seeds of the grove. A statue of Ben and Sarah was unveiled near the original tree, depicting them hand in hand, looking toward the future. The inscription read, "Their love planted the roots. Their resilience nurtured the branches. Their legacy will forever bloom." Visitors gathered around the statue, many moved to tears by the story it represented. For some, it was a reminder to cherish their own families. For others, it was a call to plant their own seeds of kindness in the world. Among the crowd was one of Lily's great-great-grandchildren, now a historian who had dedicated their life to preserving the family's story. They stood silently, their hand resting on the statue, feeling the weight of the legacy they had inherited. "They'd be proud," the historian whispered, looking up at the cherry blossoms swaying gently in the breeze. "They're proud of what they started and of how far it's come." The grove became a place where the past met the future, its blossoms bridging the gap between generations. It stood as a testament to the simple yet profound truth that love, when nurtured, can create a legacy that transcends time. And as the sun set on another day, the cherry grove stood steadfast, its roots deep and its branches strong, carrying the stories of those who had come before and welcoming those yet to come. The blossoms fluttered in the evening breeze, whispering their timeless promise. Love endures, hope flourishes, and kindness always finds a way to bloom. As time pressed on, the cherry grove became more than a family legacy. It grew into a living monument of the community's shared values. Schools, organizations, and individuals came to the grove not only to admire its beauty, but to learn the lessons it symbolized. The annual Cherry Blossom Festival evolved into a larger event, attracting visitors from across the country. It became a celebration of resilience, togetherness, and the enduring impact of a single act of kindness. Stories of the grove's origins were told in schools, taught in seminars, and even adapted into children's books. The tale of Ben and Sarah, and how their love planted the first seeds, became a universal lesson in perseverance and unity. One spring, during the festival's opening ceremony, a young speaker stood before the crowd. They had been invited to share their personal connection to the grove. "When I was a child," they began, "my parents brought me here during one of the hardest times in our lives. These trees gave us hope when we thought all was lost." The crowd listened in silence as the speaker continued. "Today, I'm here to say thank you. Thank you to the family who started this. Thank you for creating a place where people can come to heal and grow." The audience erupted into applause, their appreciation echoing through the grove. Among them were descendants of Ben and Sarah, their hearts swelling with pride at the impact their ancestors had made. As the festival continued, families gathered beneath the trees to share meals, laughter, and stories. Children ran among the blossoms, their joy a testament to the hope and love that the grove represented. Over the years, the cherry grove inspired similar projects in other towns and cities. Communities planted their own trees, creating spaces for reflection, connection, and growth. The story of the original grove became a movement, spreading the message of love and resilience far beyond its roots. Back in the original grove, the family's tradition of planting a new tree each year continued. Each sapling was lovingly tended, a symbol of the next chapter in their shared journey. On one such planting day, the family gathered under the now sprawling canopy of blossoms. Among them was the youngest member of the family, a wide-eyed toddler who toddled over to the newly planted tree. The child reached out to touch the sapling, giggling as the leaves tickled their fingers. "Grow big," they said, their voice filled with wonder. The family laughed, their joy echoing through the grove. In that moment, they saw the future reflected in the child's innocent wish, a future filled with love, strength, and unending growth. The cherry grove stood tall, its blossoms swaying gently in the breeze, as if nodding in agreement. It had become more than just a collection of trees. It was a symbol of everything the family and their community stood for. And as the sun set on another day, casting a golden light over the grove, the trees whispered their eternal truth. Love is the root of all things, Resilience nurtures the soul, and kindness allows us to bloom together. As the years turned into decades, the cherry grove became a place where people sought not only beauty, but a sense of purpose and belonging. Visitors often left messages beneath the trees, small notes of gratitude or wishes for the future, tucked gently into the bark or tied to branches with ribbons. These messages became a cherished tradition, and the grove soon bore the weight of thousands of heartfelt words, each one adding another layer to the story of love and hope that had begun with Ben and Sarah. On one crisp spring morning, the family gathered for their annual planting ceremony. This time, they invited the entire community to join them. Neighbors, friends, and visitors all brought their own saplings, creating a living tapestry of unity and shared dreams. Among those present was a young couple holding hands, their faces lit with the excitement of new beginnings. They had traveled to the grove after hearing its story, hoping to start their own family legacy. As they planted their sapling, the woman turned to a family elder and asked, "Do you think this tree will grow as strong as the others?" The elder smiled warmly. "With love and care, it will grow even stronger. Trees, like families, thrive when their roots are nurtured." The couple nodded, their determination evident. They placed their hands together on the soil, sealing their commitment to the sapling and to each other. The grove continued to expand, its blossoms spilling across the landscape in waves of pink and white. It became a place where dreams were born, where healing began, and where the past and future intertwined seamlessly. One summer evening, a grand celebration was held beneath the trees to honor a milestone, the 150th anniversary of the grove's first planting. The family, now numbering in the hundreds, stood at the heart of the event, their pride evident in their smiles. During the celebration, a young descendant of Lily took the stage to address the gathered crowd. "These trees remind us that no matter how small a beginning may seem, it can grow into something extraordinary," they said. "What started as a single act of kindness has become a symbol of everything we hold dear." The applause was thunderous, a shared acknowledgement of the power of love, resilience, and connection. Beneath the blossoms, strangers became friends, and families grew closer, their hearts united by the story of the cherry grove. As night fell, lanterns were lit throughout the grove, their soft glow illuminating the trees and casting a magical light over the celebration. Music and laughter filled the air, carrying with them the essence of everything the grove had come to represent. In the quiet hours after the festivities, a family elder sat beneath the original cherry tree, gazing up at its branches. They closed their eyes and whispered a silent thank you to Ben and Sarah, whose love had planted not just trees, but a legacy that would never fade. The cherry grove continued to stand as a beacon of hope, its blossoms a reminder of the power of kindness and the strength of the bonds that connect us all. And though time would march on and seasons would change, the grove remained steadfast, its roots deep and its branches wide, carrying the stories of the past and embracing the dreams of the future. Beneath its blossoms, generations found peace, joy, and inspiration, their lives forever enriched by the enduring legacy of the cherry grove. And as the stars twinkled above, the trees swayed gently in the night breeze, their timeless message echoing across the years: love is eternal, resilience is strength, and together we can make anything bloom. As the cherry grove thrived, its legacy began to transcend even the family and community that had nurtured it. Visitors from around the world arrived, each bringing their own stories, hopes, and dreams, intertwining them with the history of the grove. Writers penned novels inspired by the grove, filmmakers captured its beauty on screen, and musicians composed melodies that echoed the rustling of its leaves. The cherry trees became a universal symbol of love, resilience, and the enduring power of human connection. One autumn, the grove hosted its first international gathering, where people from all corners of the globe shared their own traditions and stories beneath the trees. The air buzzed with laughter and language, a harmony of cultures united by a single, shared space. During this gathering, a young girl from a distant country stood at the base of the original cherry tree. She held a small seedling, carefully nurtured in her homeland, and asked if she could plant it among the others. The family and community welcomed her warmly, helping her find a spot where the seedling could grow. As she placed her hands in the soil, she whispered, "May this tree grow strong, like the love that brought me here." The act became a tradition, with visitors from far and wide planting their own trees in the grove. Over the years, the grove became a living tapestry of cultures, its blossoms reflecting the diversity and unity of all who had contributed to its growth. The grove's expansion was accompanied by the creation of a center dedicated to teaching the values it embodied. The Cherry Legacy Center became a hub for workshops, retreats, and educational programs focused on kindness, resilience, and the environment. Children from nearby schools visited the center regularly, learning about the grove's origins and the importance of caring for the world around them. Many left inspired, vowing to create their own legacies of love and connection. One spring, a teacher asked her students what they had learned from their visit to the grove. A young boy raised his hand and said, "I learned that even small things, like planting a tree, can make a big difference." His words resonated deeply with the family and the community, a reminder that the grove's message continued to reach new generations, inspiring them to plant seeds of hope and love in their own lives. As the cherry grove grew into a global symbol, the original family remained at its heart, their traditions evolving, but their roots firmly planted in the values Ben and Sarah had instilled. On the 200th anniversary of the first tree's planting, the grove hosted its most significant celebration yet. Thousands gathered under its blossoms, their hearts united by the story that had started with a simple act of kindness. During the ceremony, the family unveiled a new plaque at the base of the original tree. It read, "This grove began with love. It thrives with resilience. It blooms for everyone." As the crowd stood in awe, a young descendant of the family stepped forward to speak. "This grove is more than trees," they said. "It's a reminder that love, when nurtured, can grow beyond anything we could ever imagine." The applause that followed was filled with gratitude, hope, and determination to carry the grove's legacy forward. As the sun set on that historic day, casting a golden light over the cherry grove, the trees stood tall and strong, their blossoms swaying in the breeze. They whispered their timeless truth to all who gathered beneath them. Love grows, resilience strengthens, and through kindness we leave a legacy that will forever bloom.